Hey, this is going to be the best draft pack one pick ones for Duskmorn. It's a set I like a lot. I got a lot to talk about, so I'm going to go right into the color balance for this. So, talk about how these stats work. It's based on what's your chances of getting a trophy based on what color you picked first or what card that you picked first. So, for example, the average for this set is about 19.82% chance to get a trophy. And if you first pick a white card, you're going to be slightly better than that. You're going to be 20.9% chance to win. And white is doing the best in the set. Black is doing the worst at 18%. So it's not like a big difference. The color balance in the set is pretty good. I will say, like, not a lot of people are taking black cards and still not doing great. A lot of people are taking white cards and it's doing exceptionally well. So I would definitely give the rankings as they are listed here: white at the top, then red, then green, then blue, and then black. And again, like, I'm not even too concerned about these weaker colors because red black is a fantastic deck, blue white is a fantastic deck. You can win drafts without even having any bombs if you have like the right uncommons for that. So those are still doing very well. However, white and red and green have more color pairs accessible to them, and this is a set where you want to be finding a very, very good deck. You want to be finding a broken deck. So I would recommend trying to stay open as long as you can, and white gives you the best chance of that because white pairs up with everything really well except for green. Blue and black have fewer color pairs available to them, but they can still do pretty well as well. I do want to talk about. Actually, I don't want to talk about these. The Overlords are very, very overpowered, and I'm going to put them in their own slide because they would take up pretty much the only thing that I would talk about in this entire thing would be Overlords. So you can read them on their own time. They are worth first picking. They are worth forcing. The green one doesn't count as an Overlord, unfortunately, but the white one is the best card in the set, followed by the black one, followed by the blue one, followed by the red one. And that's all I want to talk about for those. They are just boring to talk about. Number 10, best back one pick one, is a less exciting card. It's the Conductive Machete. So I am putting this on here because I do want a soapbox on it, but it is actually the number 10 best card to pick that isn't an Overlord. This one's definitely a sleeper hit. People still aren't taking it very highly, and they probably should. It's 4 mana for an equipment. The equipment you have +2/+1. It's got equip 4 cost, but when it enters, you get to manifest red and attach it to that creature immediately. So why is this so good? Like, first of all, you do want to be staying open. If you're just forcing blue white, you're not going to be doing too well because you're going to end up in a mediocre deck unless you get very, very lucky. It's best to stay open. Pick with a colorless card. And the other reason why this is good, I got to talk about the removal in this set. So Wizards kind of promised that they were going to make better common removal after they said we're going to make play boosters, we're going to make a lot of mirrors and mythics. And they followed through on that. Scorching Dragonfire and Trapped in the Screen are like the most picked cards in the set, and they are very, very strong. There's also just removal, like there's a lot of black removal, obviously, but for blue, there's Unable to Scream, which is 1 mana, embarrass the heck out of your 5-drop. And for green, there's Monstrous Emergence, which is 2 mana for, pretty safely kill something. So going back to Machete, what you really want to look for in a 4-drop is how good is this going to end up being after the creature gets removed. And Machete gives you a +2/+1 equipment, which means that all your manifests are going to be stronger than your opponents. Your flyers are going to be on a very good clock. If you have Lifelinker, that's also going to be great. Machete does a lot of work in this format, so do not discount it. People need to be taking this card a lot higher. It does great. Number 9 is, now we're going back to like a rocket fuel kind of card, is the Dollmaker shop is the first room on this list, and all the rooms are natural 2-for-1s, and this one's particularly great. The first half of it is 1 in the white, and whenever you attack with a non-toy, you get to make a 1/1 toy creature token. The other half is 4 white for creatures you control get base power and toughness equals the number of creatures that you control. So this kind of reminds me of an uncommon from Eldraine, which is Imidane's Recruiter. It kind of spews out some value early, and then it's got this big threat over here. If your board ever gets big enough, they're just going to one-shot you with a bunch of giant creatures. So Porcelain Gallery does really do that. If you just get up to a board of like 5 creatures, you can just start chonking people to death. So this card does very, very good. Just like the first half of it is already great. The only downside to it is if you don't have, if you're not attacking, it's not doing well. If you don't have a lot of creatures, it's not going to be doing that well. But the fact that it is rocket fuel for an aggro plane, and again, I always recommend if you can get a deck that's playing a lot of 2-drop creatures and you get some cards that reward you for playing 2-drop creatures, you should definitely go into that. So despite having that downside, it's still doing really well. Number 8 is Midnight Mayhem, another card that people were like, hey, why is this card on the list? It's 2 red and a white to make 3 1/1 red gremlin creature tokens, and the gremlins get menace, lifelink, and haste until the end of the turn. So this is good for the same reason Machete. It's a 4-drop that stands up to removal, which is important. I also want to say, like, usually when I'm making these lists, the uncommons that are multicolored don't really do that well, but this has got a lot of things going for it, which is that red white is counting the number of creatures you control that are small, and this is just an army in a can to make those synergies go completely crazy. And again, Duskmorn, you want to be doing something crazy in this set, I feel like, or they're going to get Overlord. You're going to get beat by an Overlord if you're not doing something crazy. I still want to say it is good to stay open. This card is getting cut a lot. It's only got a 69% main deck rate. So if you're taking it, please be responsible, but it is good enough to first pick. The next card is another room. Unholy Annex, although the part that we really like is the Ritual Chamber. The Unholy Annex art part is 2 in the black for an enchantment. At the end of your turn, you draw a card. If you've got a demon, everyone else loses 2 life. If you don't have a demon, then you're the one that loses 2 life. The other half is the part where you get the demon from. It's 3 black for a 6/6 black demon creature token with flying. So I was kind of surprised that this one was doing great because, again, like, there's a lot of removal in this set. You can deal with this token pretty well, but the fact that it's giving you value no matter what kind of makes this like a mini Overlord card. You do have to deal with that token first of all, but then you've also got enchantment left over to sacrifice. You can activate this part to draw some cards and then sacrifice it later. It's actually like not a big downside to have this thing chonking you because there's a lot of ways to get rid of it later. So this card's doing pretty good. You should take it, even though it does overcome the issue that is black. Number 6 is Dissection Tools. It's the premium subscription version of Conductive Machete. It's 5 mana. It manifests dread, attaches to the creature, and that creature gets +2/+2 Death Touch Lifelink. So these are very, very good things to put onto a creature. The equip cost is sacrifice creature, a little bit of a steep cost, but you can sacrifice your bad manifest dread creatures to pay that a lot of the time. And I mean, you can immediately attach this to a creature if you want to sacrifice the manifest dread that it creates. So I want to say, like, the same rules that apply to Conductive Machete apply to this, except everything's just better. Also, this card is terrifying. It's got needles on it, so that's not great. But if you ever get it onto a flyer, you've got this life linking flyer in the air with a stat boost, and it's very, very hard to overcome that. This thing is really, really stupid. Definitely don't underestimate it. So number 5 is Disturbing Mirth, a card that I've been taking a lot more lately and then just throwing in my sideboard because I don't like to look at it. Oh, shoot, I have to actually read it first. Okay. It's black and a red for an enchantment, and when it enters, you may sacrifice another enchantment or a creature. If you do, draw 2 cards. And it's got a second line. When you sacrifice this, then you get to manifest dread. So this card, very, very good at chaining them together. If you get a lot of them, yeah, you have to look at the smiling face a lot of the time. But you should get over that because it is extremely strong, obviously combos with itself. And the fact that you're going through your deck like very quickly by drawing a bunch of cards, you're going to find all the synergy pieces that go with it, and you kind of just run away with the game. Again, this is a 2-color card. It gets cut a lot of the time, only 70% main deck, but it's just so powerful that you should spec on it and hope that you can get into a deck. Number 4, something nicer to look to, is Hold Me Closely, Ghostly Dancers. It's 3 white for a flying spirit, 2/5. When it enters, you can return an enchantment card from your graveyard, or you can unlock a room for free. And then it's got Eerie. Whenever an enchantment you control enters, and whenever you fully unlock a room, you make a 3/1 white spirit creature token with flying. So that last line's really good. That second line is really good. I kind of noticed that we didn't get a big mythic dragon in this set. Ghostly Dancers does a pretty good impression of that, and it's doing it from rare. So again, like, there's no tricks with this thing. It's just really, really good. Now, speaking of good cards, number 3 is Valvagoth Onslaught, probably the best rare they've printed in several years. It's XX green for a sorcery. You manifest dread X times, and you put X +1/+1 counters on each of those creatures. So 5 mana gives you 2/4/4 manifests. At 7 mana, it's as close as saying I win the game as there ever has been. This card is splashable. My pet gripe of this card is that it has like the worst ratio of time it takes to resolve it compared to time it takes to just end the game, because someone's gonna cast this for 7 or 9 mana, and they're just gonna mumble about like, oh, I wonder what I want to manifest. Like, the game's already over, and they're spending like a minute trying to resolve this thing. So that's very annoying to me. The other annoying thing is that, like, you go through your deck pretty quickly, in this format. So first of all, if you put this in, you're going to have to deal with the disappointment of milling past it sometimes. The other problem is that once you get down to 8 cards in your deck, this ends up not doing anything. So just be aware of that if it's in your deck. If you mill past it early, it's not that bad because it's not really what you want to be drawing in the end game anyways. You have to watch out. Number 2 is the secret antagonist from the Toy Story 3 movie. It's Clockwork Percussionist. It's a single red mana for a 1/1 haste artifact creature. When it dies, you exile the top card of your library. You can play it until the end of your next turn. Big word there on next. So, major plot twist that this ended up being the bad guy of Toy Story 3, and major plot twist that it's number 2 on this list. So, I do want to kind of say, like, I was worried about, is it irresponsible to put this on here? It has actually like very low pick rate stats. So like the people that are picking it are probably like the spiky players that are trying to, force an aggro deck. But there's one important thing about this card is that it started getting picked up a lot more in week 2 once it started, people figured out it was good. Its win rate went up as people were picking it more, which is like not something that usually happens. So I think this card is the real deal, even if you don't think that it should be number 2. And I don't think it should be number 2 either, but it's definitely got the power that it should be talked about more. And I want to say, like, this card goes well into all the good red archetypes. Like in red green, it's got 2 card types to get you delirium. In red white, it's good at holding combat tricks, it's good at holding equipments. It counts as a cheap creature for all those synergies. And in red black, obviously, it's very best because you can sacrifice it to get uber value out of the thing. So give your respect to your 1-drop that has a dice trigger. It ends up always being better than you think. Number 1. Everyone thought this card was good, right? The number 1 pack 1 pick 1 that is not an Overlord is Tyvar the Pummeler. It's 1 green for a 3/3 legendary elf warrior. You can tap another creature to give it indestructible for the turn. And it's got an ability 3 green. Creatures you control get +X/+X until end of turn, where X is the greatest power among creatures that you control. And no safety text on this. I have activated it twice in the same turn, and people don't expect how much damage that does. It kind of like just scales pretty crazy. Card's really good. I also want to say, like, when you manifest dread, you're going through your deck pretty quickly, and you can hit your creature bombs off manifest dread, and that feels great. So I've had the play pattern where I manifest a Tyvar, then on the end of my opponent's turn, I flip it over, go to my turn. Now I've got a giant overrun army out of nowhere, and they didn't even really have any chance to kind of react to that. Like, no one's gonna be too scared of a manifest creature half the time. So I'm going to say, like, Tyvar looks like he's having fun. When I'm playing with it, I'm having fun. So even if he's overpowered, it's pretty fun to play with. So I hope you're the one that's playing with it, not getting beat down by him. And that's the end of the video. Thanks for watching the end, and have great drafts.